Hi, Phil Wooders from Hendricks Therapy, and we're continuing to talk about parenting. Our last discussion, we discussed activities. And activities are kind of vital nowadays. You almost have to have your kid in some kind of activity because the days of them hanging around and playing with their friends are kind of over right now because their friends are involved in activities. So parents don't have tons of choices to have their kids do nothing, but maybe just not so much. Now we're going to take this a little bit of a different direction, and I've personally found learning about parenting very gratifying because I see tons of kids and tons of parents who are all stressed out. And to be able to glean some information from people who are way smarter and know way more than I do has been very helpful. So I appreciate the people at Freakonomics I plagiarized a lot of their stuff. And from a book called The Coddling of the American Mind. This is a book that talks about safetyism, where safety is a sacred value not to be challenged. And this all kind of harkens back to 1984. So in 1984, something happened which kind of started us on the path of being overly safe. And believe it or not, in 1984 was when people put faces of missing children on milk cartons. And that one act started getting parents scared that their kids would be abducted. And because of that beginning, parents started pulling back and being afraid. Now, obviously, having a child abducted is a horrible, horrible event, but it's also an incredibly rare event. They show statistics that it's basically about 1 in a million kids get abducted. 1 in a million's, sad, but compared to the 9% of high schoolers who try to kill themselves, it's not a very big number. It's not an unimportant number, it's just not very big. Now, childhood deaths overall have been dramatically reduced over the centuries, over the decades. And if you were a child born in 1800, you had a 46% chance of dying before your 5th birthday. From the 1960s until the 1990s, the childhood death rate dropped by 50%. 50% is a huge number. And that was mostly from common sense type of changes like unleaded gas, bicycle helmets, seat belts. So the question now is, how safe do we want our kids and at what cost? Now, for people who are in environments where they have a lot of adverse childhood events like physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, by all means, that's where we want to pour a lot of our money and resources, because doing so greatly helps these people, greatly helps the children, helps them turn out to be healthy adults, safe adults. Crime rate goes down. You get a lot of bang for your buck when you put resources into those who are at risk. Pouring more resources into people who are not at risk seems to be coming at a pretty high cost. The mortality rates of this population of young people who aren't really at risk is actually rising, and it's rising because of overdoses and suicides. It's not rising because of accidents. It's rising because a lot of mental health issues. So now more than ever, we need our kids to be more resilient. We need less fragile children to handle our very complicated world. And in our next video, we're going to discuss some of the consequences of overparenting. My name is Phil Borders. I'm a psychiatrist at Hendricks Therapy in Central Indiana. Thank you.